Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be exploring something really ambitious.
Yeah.
It's called the Terra 2 project.
Wow.
And it's basically a plan to turn Africa into like a global green energy powerhouse, using all that incredible solar and wind potential that the continent has.
Makes sense.
But here's the thing,
Yeah.
it's not just about energy.
Really?
This project also wants to tackle water scarcity,
Wow.
food insecurity,
Okay.
and it could even have a positive impact on CO2 emissions globally.
Interesting.
We're talking about potentially saving millions of lives every year.
Mm-hmm.
And, one source even describes Africa as like
What's that?
a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. And this project wants to turn that into a source of hope and energy for the whole world.
Well, that's quite the image.
It is.
So where do we even begin with something this massive?
Well, I think the first thing we got to understand is WHY Africa.
Okay.
Why is Africa so uniquely positioned for this kind of project?
Well, you hit the nail on the head earlier when you mentioned all that solar and wind potential.
Yeah.
It's truly abundant there. And
Plus, they really need solutions for things like energy poverty.
absolutely.
It's like this perfect storm of need and opportunity.
And, the plan itself calls for a huge amount of solar and wind power capacity.
How huge are we talking?
We're talking 1,200 gigawatts.
1,200.
Wow.
Just to put that in perspective, that's like more than double the entire power capacity of the United States.
That's mind-blowing.
It is.
Okay, so that brings us to the heart of the project,
Okay.
green hydrogen.
Right.
Now, I got to admit, I don't fully understand how you actually make this stuff.
Well, it all starts with a process called electrolysis.
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 Okay.
It sounds complicated, but it's
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
using electricity to split water
Uh,
into its basic components,
okay.
hydrogen and oxygen.
So we're talking high school chemistry here.
Kinda, but the key is...
The electricity used in this process has got to come from renewable sources.
Okay, so...
Like all that solar and wind power
All right,
we were talking
so
about.
that's what makes it green hydrogen.
Exactly.
And are these technologies, like,
They're getting,
efficient and stuff?
oh yeah, they're getting really efficient.
Like, how efficient?
Some of the ones they talk about in this plan
Yeah.
boast efficiencies up to 70%.
70%.
70%, meaning
Wow.
most of that energy you put in
Right.
actually gets turned into usable hydrogen.
That's pretty impressive.
It is.
But I'm
Yeah.
imagining, like, all
Yeah.
that hydrogen doesn't seem easy to store and transport.
You're right. Hydrogen can be a bit tricky to handle,
Right.
which is why this Terra 2 project, they take
Yeah.
it a step further.
Okay.
They want to convert the hydrogen into synthetic methane,
Synthetic methane. So basically...
turning it into
Yeah.
a form of natural gas.
Okay, so why is that better?
Well, for one thing, it's way easier and safer to store and transport.
Okay, that makes sense.
But there's another big advantage.
What's that?
The process of actually making this synthetic methane involves combining
Okay.
the hydrogen with CO2.
So you're actually using captured carbon dioxide.
Exactly.
So it's like a double win.
It is.
You get a fuel that's easier to handle, and you're doing something good for the environment.
Yeah, they're pretty clever.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
But how do they plan on actually getting this synthetic methane,
Yeah.
to the rest of the world?
Well, this is where it gets audacious.
Okay.
They want to use existing natural gas pipeline networks.
So instead of building new stuff,
Right.
they're repurposing what we already have.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's pretty bold.
It is. They're turning Africa into this, like,
Yeah.
global energy backbone.
That's what they call it.
It's incredible.
It is. And what's interesting is that
What?
methane, it behaves a lot like natural gas in terms of how it flows through these pipelines.
So we could actually be powering our homes and industries with green energy sourced from Africa.
It's a real possibility.
That's amazing. But let's not forget, this project is about way more than just energy.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Like we said before, it aims to solve some huge problems facing the continent, like lack of access to clean water.
That's a big one.
Right.
Yeah. And the project plans to use some of that renewable energy
Uh-huh.
to power these huge desalination plants.
Turning seawater into fresh water.
Exactly.
How much water are we talking about here?
Well, they're projecting they could produce up to 100 billion cubic meters of fresh water annually.
100 billion.
100 billion.
Wow. That's so...
Roughly the same amount of water used by the entire population of Germany in a year.
It's hard to even imagine that much water.
It is.
And that's not all. The source material also talks about this idea of land reclamation.
Oh, yeah. They want to reclaim huge areas of desert.
And turn them into farmland.
Yeah. Exact. Imagine taking 15 million hectares.
15 million.
15 million, which is roughly the size of Bangladesh,
Wow.
and turning it into fertile land for agriculture.
That's incredible. The impact on food security
Huge.
and just people's livelihoods could be enormous.
Absolutely.
But, we also have to talk about the human cost of these issues.
Yeah,
The source material doesn't shy away from that.
it doesn't.
The statistics on mortality rates
Right.
related to hunger, thirst, and waterborne diseases are just heartbreaking.
It is millions of lives lost every year.
Yeah, because of these basic needs not being met.
It's a stark reminder
Yeah.
that we need solutions, and
Yeah.
we need them now.
And that's what's so compelling about this project.
What's that?
It doesn't just offer some kind of theoretical solution.
Right.
It actually lays out concrete numbers.
Yeah.
They're projecting that over 6 million lives could be saved annually.
That's incredible.
It's really about turning ambition into tangible life-saving impact.
It all sounds amazing.
It does.
But let's be realistic for a minute.
Well,
Can a project of this magnitude actually happen?
yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
What about the money? How do they plan to pay for all of this?
That's the million-dollar question, or rather, the trillion-dollar question.
Right.
But luckily for us, the source material actually digs into the financial viability of this whole thing.
They do.
They do.
That's good.
And they provide some really detailed breakdowns of the costs
Okay.
and potential revenue streams.
So let's talk numbers.
Let's talk numbers.
What
Jeez.
kind of investment are we looking at here?
Well, the initial investment cost
Yeah.
is estimated to be $1.9 trillion US dollars.
1.9 trillion.
1.9 trillion.
That's a lot of zeros.
It is.
But to be fair, this cost is spread out across a lot of different parts of the project.
Right. Like, what are the main components?
Well, a big chunk of it goes towards building all those solar and wind power installations.
Right.
Which are like the foundation of the whole thing.
Makes sense. Oh, yeah.
Then you've got the cost of setting up the green hydrogen production facilities,
Uh-huh.
the desalination plants for water,
Right.
and then all the agricultural infrastructure.
It's a lot to build.
It is.
But those are just the upfront costs, right?
Right.
What about, like, the day-to-day costs of running this thing?
Yeah, the operational costs.
The operational costs.
Well, they've got estimates for that too.
Okay.
They've factored in things like maintenance, labor, and resource management.
So it's not just about spending money.
No, it's about making money too.
Okay. So how are they planning on generating revenue from this?
Well, we've identified 3 main streams of income.
Okay.
First, they're going to sell the green hydrogen and synthetic methane on the global market.
Makes sense.
Then they'll make money from all the agricultural produce grown on that reclaimed land.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, they'll sell the desalinated water.
So they've thought about the income side of things.
They have.
But is it enough to make this project actually financially viable?
Based on their projections, the
Yeah.
annual profit
Yeah.
could reach a staggering 125 billion US dollars.
125 billion
125 billion
every year.
every year.
Wow.
And that translates to a potential return on investment
Okay.
of over 130%
Over 20 years.
over 20 years.
That's a pretty good return.
It is, especially when you consider the payback period.
A payback period.
Yeah, which
Remind me what that is again.
the time it takes for the project to generate enough revenue
Yeah.
to cover that initial investment.
Right.
Well, they're estimating that'll take just over 15 years.
15 years.
15 years.
For a project this big, that's actually pretty fast.
It is. A lot of large-scale infrastructure projects take way longer to recoup their initial costs.
So financially speaking, it sounds like this project has some serious legs.
It does.
Yeah.
But, we also got to remember that these are all projections
Right.
based on,
A lot of assumptions.
a lot of assumptions. Things could change.
Of course.
Yeah.
Course. But let's dive a little deeper into the financial stuff.
Okay.
The source material mentions something called net present value, or NPV.
Right.
NPV.
Can you break that down for me?
Yeah, so NPV is basically
Yeah.
a way of figuring out the value of an investment in today's dollars,
Okay.
taking into account,
Time value of money and all that.
exactly. It helps you compare investing in this project versus other potential investments.
Got it.
And even with a conservative discount rate of 5%,
Meaning,
they're factoring in the potential for other good investment opportunities.
okay.
The NPV for Terra 2 comes out to a whopping $494 billion.
That's a big number.
It is. It's a strong indicator
Yeah.
of the project's potential to be financially viable.
Okay. So the numbers look pretty good.
They do.
But we can't ignore the real-world challenges here.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about a project that spans an entire continent,
Yeah.
involving so many countries, governments, stakeholders.
A lot of moving parts.
Navigating all that complexity
Yeah.
is going to be critical.
Yeah, sure. Like just securing that initial investment of $1.9 trillion?
Right.
That's no small feat.
It's going to require a lot of buy-in, collaboration from all sorts of actors.
Governments, international organizations, private investors.
A big team effort.
A huge team effort. So building trust,
Yeah.
cooperation between all those parties.
It's essential.
It's essential.
And then there's the logistics
Oh, yeah.
of coordinating a project this big across so many different countries.
It's mind-boggling.
It is, each country has its own.
Political landscape, regulations, priorities.
Exactly.
So it's not just about the technology.
No.
It's about the people.
It's about the people.
And the politics.
Absolutely.
It sounds like this project needs
Yeah.
not just engineers and scientists, but like
Yeah.
skilled diplomats and negotiators
For sure.
to bring everyone to the table.
To make it all work.
And then there's the whole geopolitical aspect
Oh, right.
of Africa becoming this major energy exporter.
Yeah, how's that going to change things?
Could it reshape global energy markets,
Possibly.
shift power dynamics?
It's a fascinating question.
Imagine a world where Africa, often seen as a recipient of aid,
Right.
becomes a leading provider of these essential resources
Driving the transition.
to a cleaner energy future.
It's a powerful vision.
It is, but we also need to be mindful of potential downsides.
Of course.
How do we make sure this project benefits all Africans
Yeah.
equitably
Right.
and doesn't just create a new form of resource exploitation?
That's a crucial point.
So we need to be really careful,
Absolutely.
thoughtful about how this all unfolds.
Couldn't agree more.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Terra 2 project. Last time we were talking about this incredible vision.
Yeah.
Green energy, water solutions, food production, tackling CO2 emissions, all with the goal of, elevating Africa's role on the world stage.
It's a huge undertaking.
It is. And now I'm kind of curious about,
Yeah.
how do we actually turn this vision into a reality?
Right. Where do we even begin?
Where's the starting point?
Well, I think that's where the financial analysis gets really interesting.
Okay.
And thankfully, the source material actually gives us some
Yeah.
pretty impressive numbers
Okay.
that suggest this might not just be a pipe dream.
Okay, so walk me through some of those numbers. What makes you think this project could actually turn a profit?
Well, for starters, the projected return on investment, or ROI,
Yeah.
over a 20-year period is over 130%.
Wow. So for every dollar invested,
Yeah.
there's a potential to make back well over $1.
That's right.
That's definitely an attractive figure for investors.
It is.
What about the
Yeah.
time it takes to actually see those returns?
Well, the payback period,
Payback period.
which is basically the time it takes for the project to generate enough revenue
Right.
to cover that initial investment,
Yeah.
is estimated at just over 15 years.
15 years.
15 years.
Considering the scale of this project, that's actually pretty fast.
It is a lot of these. Large-scale infrastructure projects take decades
Right.
to recoup their initial costs.
So financially speaking, this project seems to have
It seems to.
strong potential.
Yeah.
But how did they arrive at that 15-year payback period? What factors contribute to such a short time frame?
Well, it's a combination of things.
Okay.
First, you've got the massive scale of this project,
Uh-huh.
which allows for what they call economies of scale.
So basically, the bigger the project, the lower the cost per unit of energy produced.
You got it.
Okay.
Second, the source material emphasizes the low operational costs
Okay.
of renewable energy sources, like solar and wind.
Once you build the infrastructure,
Right.
the fuel is free.
The fuel is free.
Okay.
And third, there's that projected high demand
Right.
for green hydrogen and synthetic methane.
So that could drive up prices
It could.
and lead to faster revenue generation.
Exactly.
But of course, we got to remember, these are all projections
Right.
based on a lot of assumptions.
A lot of assumptions.
Things could change.
Absolutely.
But okay, let's look at some other financial metrics.
Sure.
The source material also mentions net present value, or NPV.
Yeah.
NPV. Can you kind of break that down for me? What does that tell us about this project?
Well, NPV is basically a way of calculating the value of an investment in today's dollars,
Okay.
taking into account the time value of money.
So it helps you compare
Yeah.
the value of investing in this versus other potential investments.
That's exactly right.
Huh.
And even with what they call a conservative discount rate of 5%,
Meaning?
meaning they're factoring in the potential for other good investment opportunities out there.
Got it.
The NPV for Terra 2 comes out to a whopping $494 billion.
Wow, that's
That's a
a
really
huge number.
strong indicator of its financial viability.
Okay, so the numbers look really good on paper.
Yeah, they do.
But, we can't ignore the real-world challenges.
Right.
We're talking about a continent-wide project
Absolutely.
involving so many different countries, governments,
A
stakeholders.
lot of moving parts.
Navigating all that complexity is going to be crucial
Absolutely.
for the success of this project.
Yeah. Just securing that initial investment of $1.9 trillion
Right.
is no small feat.
It's going to require buy-in and collaboration from all sorts of actors, international organizations.
Private investors.
It's like a massive team effort.
It is.
So building trust and cooperation between all those parties, that's essential.
It's absolutely essential. And then there's the whole challenge of coordinating a project this big
Right.
across so many different countries.
Each with their own
Political landscape.
priorities. It's mind-boggling.
It is.
And it highlights that this is not just about the technology.
No, it's not.
It's about the people
Yeah,
and the politics involved.
couldn't agree more.
It sounds like this project needs not just engineers and scientists, but
Yeah.
skilled diplomats and negotiators
Yeah, absolutely.
to bring everyone to the table and make it all work.
For sure.
And then there's the whole geopolitical aspect of Africa becoming this major energy exporter.
Right. How's that going to change things?
How will that shift the balance of power?
Yeah,
Could it reshape global energy markets?
potentially.
I mean, imagine a world where Africa, often seen as a recipient of aid,
Right.
becomes a leading provider
Yeah.
of these essential resources.
Driving the transition to a cleaner energy future.
It's a really compelling vision.
It is, but we also have to be mindful
Yes.
of the potential downsides.
How do we make sure that this project benefits all Africans?
Right.
Equitable.
It doesn't just create a new form of resource exploitation.
That's a crucial point.
It is.
We need to be really careful
Yeah.
and thoughtful about how this all unfolds.
I completely agree.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been exploring this ambitious Terra 2 project.
It's a big one.
It is. We've talked about its potential to transform Africa into a global green energy powerhouse.
Right.
We've tackled the financial and logistical hurdles.
Lots of challenges.
But in this final segment, I want to kind of step back with you and look at the bigger picture.
The big picture.
What does Terra 2 tell us about the future of energy? The relationship between technology and development, and humanity's role in shaping a sustainable future for our planet?
Wow, that's a big question.
It is. It's a big question.
Well, I think Terra 2 really showcases the possibilities of renewable energy sources.
Like solar and wind.
Exactly. Especially when you combine them with innovative technologies.
Like green hydrogen production.
Right, and synthetic methane.
It almost feels like a challenge to the old way of doing things.
Yeah.
Moving away from those centralized fossil fuel-based energy systems.
Definitely.
This project points towards a future that's more decentralized and sustainable.
I think that's a great point.
And it really emphasizes that tackling these complex problems like climate change, water scarcity, food insecurity requires a multifaceted approach. For sure, Terra 2 isn't just about generating electricity. It's about creating this network of solutions that all work together
Harmony.
to improve lives and protect the planet.
It's a holistic approach.
You know, the source material uses this really powerful metaphor to describe this.
What's that?
It talks about turning a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam into a beacon of hope.
Wow, that's beautiful.
It is. It's a beautiful way to capture the potential of human ingenuity.
Taking something seemingly insignificant,
Yeah.
like a tiny particle of dust
Yeah.
in a ray of sunlight,
Right.
and turning it into something that brings abundance and opportunity.
It's amazing.
It really is.
And it reminds us that even small actions can have a ripple effect,
Absolutely.
leading to positive change that extends far beyond their initial impact.
Couldn't agree more.
And speaking of ripple effects, let's talk about the potential economic implications.
Okay.
The source material suggests this project could create millions of jobs.
Jobs.
And not just in construction and operation.
All right, think about all the related industries.
Manufacturing, transportation, agriculture.
Exactly, all benefiting from this project.
It's about building a new green economy.
Yeah.
Fueled by renewable resources.
And driven by local innovation.
And it has the potential to lift millions out of poverty.
Absolutely.
By creating these sustainable livelihoods and fostering economic growth.
This project really challenges us
Yeah.
to rethink the relationship between technology and development.
How so?
Well, it's not just about transferring technology from developed countries to developing ones.
Right.
It's about fostering homegrown innovation,
Yeah.
empowering communities to take charge of their own energy future.
That sense of ownership is really crucial, isn't it?
It is. It's essential for long-term success.
And Terra 2 also highlights the importance of collaboration on a global scale
Right. We need to work together.
to tackle these huge challenges like climate change.
We can't do it alone.
We need to break down those traditional barriers between governments, businesses, and civil society. It's a powerful reminder that we're all interconnected. The choices we make today impact future generations.
They do.
And we need to act with that understanding in mind.
Couldn't agree more.
The source material ends on this really striking image.
Oh, yeah.
It's the pale blue dot photograph
Oh, wow.
taken by Voyager 1,
Right.
showing Earth as this tiny speck in the vastness of space.
It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
It makes you feel pretty small.
It makes you realize how fragile our planet really is.
Yeah,
And just how precious life is.
absolutely.
It makes you think, if we can harness the power of the sun to transform an entire continent,
Right.
what else might we be capable of achieving?
What other impossible things could become possible?
Exactly.
It's pretty inspiring.
The Terra 2 project is a real testament to human ingenuity.
It is.
It's a call to action for all of us
Yeah.
to strive for a more sustainable and just future.
A future where everyone has access to clean energy.
Fresh water.
A chance to thrive.
It's a vision worth fighting for.
Absolutely.
A future worth imagining.
A story that's just beginning to unfold.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Terra 2 project.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope it sparked your curiosity, inspired your imagination,
Yeah.
and left you with a sense of hope.
And possibility.
Until next time, keep exploring
Keep questioning.
and keep diving deep into the fascinating world around us.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive into a new and exciting topic.
Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.